This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 38th time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live. And this is the show, of course, where we take a look at the last week in the world of news and entertainment, movies and television news in particular. And how was your weekend? Or how was your week in general? How'd you guys do so far this week? It's been another one of those mixed bag of a weeks, honestly. I lost my train of thought there for a second. I really forgot what I was going to add to this, but it's been kind of a mixed week. Once again, for some reason, apparently, we're in the part of the Western Pennsylvania area where it's tornado season here. Like it's been a crazy month for tornadoes here. We don't usually get a lot of tornadoes here, but we've already had more tornadoes this month than we had in May of '85, which is like the most active day for tornadoes in Western Pennsylvania. I think like 7 tornadoes were on that day. We're already up to 11, and Friday was one of those days where it's just like, it's weird because if you look at the National Weather Service severe weather map, it didn't say anything about us being in like an area where there's a heightened risk for severe weather, like an enhanced risk or a moderate risk like you would see if you lived like in Tornado Alley, like in Kansas and all that. Like there was nothing like that. It was just like chance of thunderstorms and chance of showers and thunderstorms, and then all of a sudden, as the day went on, 5 tornadoes in Western Pennsylvania, and including one pretty close to where I live. And luckily, there was not any damage per se. Like we didn't even know that there was an actual tornado on the ground because, from what my family's told me, they saw like the sky go pitch black, and it made the house pitch black, but I mean, my house is literally right across from where I work at, and when I looked outside, it was pretty much white out. Like it literally looked like it was just rain showers in but apparently there was a tornado that was literally right over us, and we just never knew it. And there was very little damage. So whatever it wasn't that long of a tornado in general. I think they said it was an EF1, even though it really did not look like it, because I think EF1 is up to like, if I remember the enhanced Fujita scale, I think an EF1 tornado is like, let's see. I'm looking at it right now online. 86 to 110 miles per hour. But, like I said, it didn't really feel like there was a lot of there was not that much of it didn't look like there was tornadoes outside, but apparently we're in the middle of one of those weird weather years where they tell you that it's not going to rain, it's not going to be like a severe thunderstorm type of day, and all of a sudden got all these different tornado warnings. It was like that on Tuesday night too. It's just a weird weather pattern we're in right now. But not only that, I'm a little bummed because something I ordered today came back damaged, and because I ordered it through Macari, it's much more complicated to just say, hey, my product got damaged while it was being shipped to me. I want to get a refund back, but no, they have to make it much more difficult than that. But I am in the process of getting through that, and I should be getting my refund back soon on that. But I did order another of the thing that I ordered through that. So hopefully, if it comes back in really good condition, which I hope it does. It's a brand new thing that I bought, but I was just kind of rambling on right now, but that's what I'm talking about when I say that. It's one of those mixed bag kind of a weeks where stuff like that kind of gets on my nerves, but other than that, some things were pretty good this week. And we'll talk about a lot of the stuff that's to cover this week. There's a lot of news stories this week regarding, like, TV, the world of movies, just things in general that I thought were interesting. And we're going to delve into all of that. But first, of course, we begin the conversation by taking a look at the weekend box office. And as we are in the summer movie season, we are continuing to begin the transition into the bigger blockbusters. And this week, there was a couple of notable films in particular that made it into the top 5 this week. So let's go ahead and get to those movies, starting with the films that were actually out a couple weeks ago. We're not going to get to the new ones just yet, but number 5 this week is, of course, Challengers, which fell off 2 spots from last week to $2.9 million, dropping only 32% from last week, up to $43.5 million, which brings its worldwide gross up to $78.7 million, made back its budget of $55 million, so it's still too soon to tell how that one's going to be seen as a success, as if it's a success or a disappointment or a failure for MGM who put that out. But I thought the movie was really good. In fact, a lot of the movies in the top 5 I really liked this week, including the number 4 film, which is The Fall Guy, which continues to fall off, but not as bad as last week. 38.3%, $62.9 million after 3 weeks, 8.5 this weekend, bringing its 3-week worldwide gross up to $127.5 million, which the film brought in a budget of $130 million. So it's at least good. So, like with Challengers, it's going to make its money back, budget back. But like I've said before, that was just not the movie that you should open the summer movie season up. And I think that's causing a ripple effect with a lot of the new releases that we've had so far. At least with this week's movie, that is number 1, but we'll get to that in just a second. Let's get to one of the 2 new releases that is a new release, and that is the number 3, The Strangers Chapter 1, which the first of a 3-part series of films for the Strangers reboot. I guess this is because apparently the demand was so high, and the box office shows you just that, $12 million, and this thing only cost $7 million to make. And despite the fact that the film did poorly with critics, I mean, I think it got like a mere 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, 13%, which is only 4% better, but nobody's really asking for this, honestly. I mean, it slightly overperformed, and it's pretty much already made its money back, so it's basically instant profit from this point forward. Nobody was really asking for this, and I guess the one thing I'll say about it is that, hey, on a crowded weekend like this, to actually outperform what you're expected to do, that is something. But other than that, nobody's really asking for these movies. Apparently, I thought, at least that's what I thought. But apparently, that's enough to get these other 2 movies going. Which I think they've already shot all 3 films together, so they're going to come out in some way, shape, or form. Whether or not it's going to be in theaters, whether or not it's going to be streaming if it has to, it'll eventually come out. But yeah, that's the one that I did not really have a keen interest in personally, and it's kind of hard not to see why. But it's not that hard to see why. What am I saying? It's kind of hard to see why. It's easy to see why I wasn't looking forward to this. But anyway, moving on to the number 2 movie this week, and that is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which brought in $26 million, going over the $100 million mark here in the U.S., $101.2 million, with its worldwide gross now up to $237 million worldwide. The budget on this movie was around $100 million. I think it was more than that, actually. Let me double check here to make sure. It was like $160 million. So, already made back its budget with worldwide grosses, and it should probably continue to make its money back in the U.S. It's gonna be real close, though. Like it should be seen as a profitable success for them over at Disney. But let's go ahead and take a look at the movie that opened up at number 1 this week. The big new release this week, the number 1 movie, John Krasinski's If, which it's interesting because I follow Deadline Hollywood when it comes to the box office. And usually every Saturday morning, like around 10 a.m., 11 a.m. my time, they usually put the early estimates out there, and you can always tell what the overall appeal of the box office in general is going to be like at that point, before you get to the Sunday numbers. And I thought that and they didn't put a thing out on Saturday morning, and I thought to myself at first, oh, okay, Paramount's probably not liking the numbers that they're getting off of this, and it was looking dire at first with $31.5 million for a movie that was supposed to open around $40 million, but thanks to the Saturday numbers being a little bit more than they expected, the estimates moved up to $35 million, which is still kind of bad, but not as bad as it could have been if it opened at $31 million. Also, the budget on this is $110 million. The worldwide gross brings it up to $59 million. So, yeah, I don't know how to feel about this movie's success factor going forward. The good news is that audiences seem to be really loving it. It's got an A on Cinema Score. Critics, not so much, but honestly, I think they're out of their minds because I really did admire this movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. I thought it was very well done. I think it's a much better movie than the critics are letting on. It's a film that is honestly one of my favorite movies of the year. I love the ambition of it. I love some of the creativity to it. I love that it's a simple story. It doesn't have to go down the cliche-riddled route at times, but I thought it was very good. I thought it handled itself very well. I think it's much better than people let on. I think it's a much better film, creatively, visually, in terms of a story. I think it's really damn good. I talked about it in my review over on the main channel, so you can go and check that out there. But it's a movie that I wish had done better. I think here's the thing, though. We've got big family films coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got Garfield coming out next week. Then 3 weeks from now, actually, we've got Inside Out 2. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the box office holds for this. I mean, it's got the A Cinema Score, so that means that usually word of mouth is very good, and that means that this film should be able to carry the load. But we're heading into a very crowded summer movie season, and it's gonna be weird to tell it's gonna be interesting to tell what happens with this going forward in terms of the box office numbers. But I really like the movie. I think you should check it out. It's definitely worth the watch. I think the critics really are. This is one where I really do believe the critics are wrong on this one. I think this is definitely a much better film than they're letting on. Even though it has a lot of similarities to Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, this new stuff that they do different with it, I think really makes it stand out on its own. I absolutely admire this movie, man. I definitely would recommend checking it out. There's one big new release that I should talk about here. Just barely missed the top 5, but even then, it's not good numbers for this movie. Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic, brought in a dismal $2.8 million, which for a film like this, that this is a film that is based off the story of Amy Winehouse. It's the biography about her life, and it's a great performance by the star Marissa Bella being wasted on an absolutely generic and bland biopic. And that's really the biggest problem with the movie, is that it falls into the same category as every safe, sanitized musical biopic we've been getting since Bohemian Rhapsody. There's been those few exceptions here and there, like Rocket Man, which I wish more movies were like that, but this is just in that same category, man. I was really let down when I saw this movie. I expected so much better from it, honestly, but it's just a film that really, it just fails on so many levels. It makes you forget how great the performance is by Marissa Bella, and you really want to see a good movie that balances out the good moments and the bad moments, instead of just glorifying these people as heroes who have done nothing who have done nothing wrong. And even if they did it for a purpose. They did it for a reason for existing. And no, we don't want to see this all the time. It's a problem with every single musical biopic nowadays, with those few exceptions like I mentioned. But it's just, you just want more from these, instead of just these safe, sanitized pieces of garbage. And I said this is one of my picks for the worst movie of the year, mostly because Amy Winehouse's story is so fascinating, and such a story that could easily work if this was put into capable hands of a studio that said, we don't care about the marketability of a film. We want to tell the story as it actually was, but not with Focus Features coming on board here. I mean, I don't know what the budget on this movie is. It's already made $39 million worldwide, so I can't really say if it's a success for them or not, but it really wasn't. It was not a success for me, and this film just wastes a great performance on a generic script, a generic story that we've seen done to death. It's a bad movie, plain and simple, and I'm not disappointed that this bombed big time, because, yeah, hopefully this is the wake-up call for these studios to be like, maybe we should stop doing this to every single biopic and just tell the story the way it actually happened. It's not going to hurt anybody to tell the story as it actually is. The family may not like it, but you know what? That's what happened. It's like, my baby ain't never hurt nobody. It's just yeah, you don't want them to know. You don't know that because you always think that your kids are easily like they're the most kindest, gentle people around, and they could never do anything wrong. When temptation does that to you, especially if you're a celebrity in Hollywood. Like, I'm just going off on a rant here, but it's just like, you know what, like, hopefully this is the wake up call to stop making these movies like this and actually put more effort into it. One would hope that's the case, but who really knows? But so anyway, that's the weekend box office. Of course, next week is Furioso and the Garfield movie. It'll be interesting to see how both of those movies end up, because Furioso, it's already got some high praise from critics. It showed at the Cannes Film Festival. Of course, coming off the goodwill of Fury Road, George Miller. Looks pretty cool. The Garfield movie's also coming off of some good early word of mouth from people who've seen the film. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Will it be Furioso that will take the #1 spot, or the Garfield movie? We will find out on the next time we meet next week to find out. But I'm just rambling on here. But anyway, so that's the weekend box office. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the big news stories for the week. So this week there was a lot of news from the upfronts, from various outlets, various networks, various streaming services. Amazon went out there and just put out a pretty good presentation announcing a lot of things. Most notably that there was a Spider-Man universe spinoff called Silk Spider Society that they were working on. That is not going forward. However, there is some news later on that I'll get to of the reason why they're not moving forward with that. But we got news of the 5th season of The Boys. The show got renewed. There's a Jeopardy spinoff coming to Amazon Prime Video called Pop Culture Jeopardy, which, wouldn't that be considered the same thing as just regular Jeopardy? I mean, I don't know, but I'm trying to look here and see what else. Let me do this. That'll work. Coach Prime is getting renewed for a new season. Some of the big stories they announced that was happening is that there's a new Tomb Raider series coming with Phoebe Waller-Bridge involved in it. Of course, she was just in If. She was also one of the writers on No Time to Die. She was also in Indiana Jones. The streamer has handed the project a series order. The news was revealed by the head of Amazon and MGM Studios, Jen Salk, at the company's Upfront event in New York City, who called it an epic and globe-trotting series. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is writing the Tomb Raider series, but no cast has been set. Deadline revealed last year that the Tomb Raider series is part of a wider universe at Amazon that will also include films and games. Dimitri Johnson from DJ2, who had secured the rights to the IP, is believed to be overseeing the development of the franchise and producing. Legendary is also involved as right holders, as the company is also behind an anime Tomb Raider series at Netflix. So that'll be really interesting to see. I actually really liked the last Tomb Raider movie they did, the one with Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. I was really hoping they would continue that into a series of movies, but didn't do well enough to substantiate the possibility of that. But the thing I did mention before about why Silk is not moving forward is that MGM and Prime Video have announced that they are working on Spider-Man Noir with Nicolas Cage playing the role he made prominently famous in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and this is being developed as a live-action series with Oren Uziel, who did The Lost City and 22 Jump Street, and Steve Lightfoot of Marvel's The Punisher and Shantram, serving as the co-showrunners as the executive producers. Emmy-winning director Harry Brad Beer of Fleabag and Killing Eve is set to direct and executive produce the first 2 episodes. Uziel and Lightfoot developed the series with the Oscar-winning team behind Into the Spider-Verse, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and Amy Pascal, who will serve as executive producers. The anticipated series will debut domestically on MGM Plus's linear channel, then globally on Prime Video in more than 240 countries and territories. Noir tells the story of an aging and down-on-his-luck private investigator played by Nicolas Cage in 1930s New York, who was forced to grapple with his past life as the city's one and only superhero. Let's see. Nothing too significant here, but that's really incredible to see what they're going to do with this. I mean, Nicolas Cage was great as Noir, as the Spider-Man Noir in Into the Spider-Verse, so I'm really excited to see where they go with it in terms of a live-action series. I think this could actually be something that could turn out to be really good. Kind of reminiscent of something like Sin City, hopefully, but I mean, we'll see how much Amazon Prime puts the effort into it to make it seem that way. Let's see, what's another news story here? There was another one in particular that I wanted to talk about. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Reese Witherspoon showed up as Elle Woods at the Upfront presentation to announce that there is a Legally Blonde TV series in the works. It's a prequel series called Elle, and it hails from Reese Witherspoon and her Hello Sunshine banner. Created by Laura Cottrell of High School and Insecure, who will serve as the showrunner, Elle follows Elle Woods in high school as we learn about the life experiences that shaped her into the iconic young woman we came to know and love in the first Legally Blonde film. The series is set years before the events in the first movie, which kicked off as Elle Woods graduated from college and headed to Harvard Law to pursue a legal career. There have been 2 Legally Blonde series in the works at Amazon MGM. The other is a spinoff written and executive produced by the Gossip Girl duo of Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage. So there's that. That was one of the big stories that broke on there. It's one of a dozen sort of titles from the MGM library that were initially identified for film and or TV development following Amazon's acquisition of MGM. Teaming up with Witherspoon to exploit the IP made sense given how closely she is associated with the franchise. I mean, to go out there and be Elle Woods again to announce this is something. So I'm not much of a Legally Blonde fan in general, so I'm not really that excited for it, but it's good to see that they're continuing on that. But there was one other okay, I found some more stories here before I get to the one I wanted to talk about. They're doing a sequel to Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal set to return. The sequel is moving forward at Amazon MGM Studios, which I finally got to watch the one that just premiered this year, and I thought it was alright. I mean, I still like the original Roadhouse better. I do like that this one updates it to a point where it does things differently that I thought were kind of cool, but it was fine, but it's not one I'd say I watched multiple times. I thought it was good, but nothing too spectacular. And so let me see, what was that last one I wanted to cover here? Last story I wanted to cover from the Amazon Upfront was that they have announced the second season of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the show with Donald Glover and Maya Erskine as John and Jane Smith. And according to Deadline Hollywood, from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, toy boat. Mr. and Mrs. Smith fans will finally find out what happened at the end of season 1 as the show has been renewed for a second season by Prime Video. From co-creators and EP Donald Glover and Francesca Sloan, the series, a reimagining of the 2005 film of the same name, stars Donald Glover and Maya Erskine as John and Jane Smith, respectively. In season 1, 2 lonely strangers take on jobs with a mysterious spy agency, offering all the best things in life, which includes a brownstone that's the envy of the neighborhood. For work, John and Jane are told to marry, and as they pair to begin taking on cases, their lives become deeply entwined, leading to real feelings amid highly dangerous situations. Do they have what it takes to stay alive and stay together? Well, we'll see, because from what I heard, they're doing another season, but Donald Glover and Maya Erskine supposedly are not coming back for it. I mean, according to the press, to Jennifer Salk, who was at the head of Amazon MGM, she's saying that they're still involved there, and even when Deadline recently sat down with both of them just a couple weeks ago, they were very tight-lipped about where the show was going, and Glover even said that we don't know if it really depends, but it really depends on whether or not we win an Emmy. If we win, we kind of have to do something, right? So I heard somewhere that they weren't coming back, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to renew the show if they're not coming back, but hopefully they are coming back, but we will see. I mean, I thought the first season was actually really good, but I'm really curious to see what happens here. Do they come back, or if they don't come back, do they cancel the show, or do they just redo the show altogether after that? But I don't know. Too early to say right now. We'll find out sooner rather than later what's going to happen there. But I believe that was the last of the big stories from the Amazon upfronts. But Amazon really came out and really showed off a lot of stuff there that is moving forward, heading into the next year. But let's go ahead and take a look at some more upfront news, starting with the fall schedule release at Fox. So with CBS and NBC already revealing their fall schedules, there were still 2 networks in particular that of noteworthiness that hadn't released their fall schedules yet. But Fox was the first one to do it on Monday. And let's talk about the schedule first and talk about some of the most notable things that you'll notice here. And there are some things that you'll definitely notice right away. So on Monday, we have 911 Lone Star, which is returning after a year off the air. It did not return due to the writers and actors strike. And then following that, we have Rescue High Serve, which is, I guess, a new series that you watch the trailers for. It is very much similar to Baywatch, which is coincidence that Fox has a Baywatch reboot already in the works there. So I guess if that gets renewed, that probably pairs itself up there. But Fox is apparently high on this because this is going to premiere a new episode after the Super Bowl, and you know, you do that for the biggest. You do that when you want your show to have success. You put your biggest show, the show that you really have a keen interest in, and put it on after the biggest game of the year, in terms of sports in general. But So on Tuesday, we have the return of Accused, which was also not on TV last year because of the strikes. A new series, Murder in a Small Town. Wednesday, The Masked Singer, followed by The Floor with Rob Lowe. Thursday, Hell's Kitchen, Friday, and Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. WWE SmackDown leaves Fridays on Fox, and now it's Fox College Football Friday. It's going to be another Fox Sports night with Fox College Football Friday, College Hoops, and Fox USFL. We have Fox Sports Saturday. And then this is where it gets interesting, because on Sunday you have the NFL on Fox, then you have the Overtime, and Fox Animation Encores, and then you have The Simpsons, the new show Universal Basic Guys, Bob's Burgers, and then Crapopolis. Now, of all those shows on there, you might notice one particular show that's missing. A certain show that's about, people that say that seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV. Where are those good old-fashioned values that we used to rely, Yeah, Family Guy is not on the Fox Fall schedule for the first time in 19 years. And it's interesting because Family Guy was the odd man out, moving out of the Sunday lineup last year and moving to Wednesday night. But for the first time since Family Guy was brought back from cancellation by Fox 19 years ago, Seth MacFarlane's animated hit, which just celebrated its 25th anniversary, won't be on the network's fall schedule. It is one of 8 new and returning scripted series held for mid-season, including Animal Control, The Cleaning Lady, and Alert, which is about as many as there are on Fox's fall schedule. The network likely is plotting a major mid-season rollout using its Super Bowl broadcast as a promotional platform. And there was another story about, let me see if I can find it, about why Family Guy was not on the schedule and what the future is of that, because it's leading people to believe that there's a chance that Family Guy may not be back on Fox pretty soon. It might just go straight to Hulu. Here it is right here. Family Guy remains crucial to Fox despite mid-season move as execs address the future of legacy animation, including The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. This is from Deadline Hollywood 2. The show is moving to make room for new animated series Universal Basic Guys, which was just renewed for a second season ahead of its debut. Which, let's just say I saw the trailer for it. It doesn't look as bad as Crapopolis, but it does not look like another Simpsons or Bob's Burgers. But I'll tell more into that in just a second here. But Fox TV network president Michael Thorne said it was balancing keeping its long-running legacy series while launching new Fox-owned series. He stated that series such as Family Guy are still of crucial importance to it and its audience. He said that the beloved show would receive a full season order despite its move. We talk a lot about looking at the schedule in a more modern way, and rather than looking simply at the traditional time slots of shows, we look at our entire portfolio. We also think that as VOD partner in Hulu and how it will work best for them, scheduling has changed significantly over the years, and we approach it in a different way now. And, Family Guy, they just announced a couple weeks ago that Hulu will have an exclusive Halloween and Christmas special on there. So, Family Guy will still be around, but it just won't be on TV with new episodes this year. But in 2025, it'll be back. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And I was saying before that Family Guy seemed like it was running on fumes at this point, and maybe this is a sign that Family Guy's days on Fox may be outnumbered. It may continue on, but it might just be continuing on as a Hulu exclusive, or they probably take the route that 911 did last year at Fox when they moved to ABC. There's still a possibility that I still, for some reason, think that The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, and Family Guy will end up on ABC at some point down the road, whether it's for like a last season thing or something like that. I just feel that's something like that's going to happen in the back of my head, thinking that's probably going to happen, But still, I thought that was kind of interesting. The Family Guy was off the schedule this year, but maybe with the shows that they have, I'm gonna wish the Family Guy was still on the schedule, because I saw the trailer for that new show, Universal Basic Guys, and like I said, it doesn't look as bad as something like the Crapopolis did, but at the same time, it doesn't look any better. In fact, I'm gonna actually play the trailer for you so you can see for yourself, and I'll put a link to it down below so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, I got it right here.
For decades, Fox Sunday has been home to TV's most iconic animated dudes.
And these guys will certainly not be that. Like, I love how they have to try to convince you that these guys that they're about to show you are going to be the next big thing, and just like, hopefully these trailers are a lot better than what you're showing, because, like I said, But let's go ahead and keep going.
This fall, a new legend is born.
I'm Mark Hoagies.
Mark Hoagies.
Holy crap, Hank. It's a freaking Deer City. All right, this is it for all the money. Oh crap, fire in the hole, let's go!
He's a giver.
You bought a chimpanzee?
They're like the friendliest animals on the planet.
Until they rip your friggin' face off.
He's
See, like, little things like that I thought were kind of amusing. Him throwing the grenade, and then they're talking about the chimp, and then the next thing you see is the chimp literally ripping the guy's face off. I mean, stuff like that gets me kind of excited, but then after that, though...
He's a lover.
Well, you can always kiss the second mouth. Come on, last chance.
No chance.
He's a disruptor.
No more naps in the lactation room. Those are power naps. It's 2024, Joe. Men can breastfeed. Come on.
He's a hero in his own mind.
There he is. Well, you're disrespecting a champion.
Is that ring even real? Your name is made in China.
It's pronounced Mad in China, okay? It's Gaelic.
Universe.
Yeah, like, stuff like that. It's just kind of like, Yeah, I can't really say that I'm really excited for this. But like I said, it at least gave me a couple of laughs compared to something like Crapopolis, which I'm sorry. People have told me, it's actually a good show. It's actually a good show. I've watched a couple of episodes recently. It still hasn't made me laugh. But this, so far, it's like, there's some things about it that give some promise to it. But other than that, though, I mean, it's not something that's like, I've got to watch this and all that. There's literally nothing else on Sunday nights. Besides the obvious The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. Maybe I'll watch it, but it's not high on my high expectations to watch that in particular. But yeah, that's the Fox schedule. So let's go ahead and move on to see what ABC is up to this fall. So let me just give you kind of a rundown of the number of scripted shows on the fall schedules this year at the multiple networks. CBS has the most with 16. NBC is at 12. Fox has 8. 4 live action, 4 animated. Guess how many shows ABC has? 5. That's it. 5 scripted shows on the fall schedule. And let me just give you an idea of what the schedule is, because ABC put it out. Monday night you have select Monday Night Football games. It's not going to be every week, which does not make a whole lot of sense. I mean, ABC and ESPN are owned by the same company. People would rather watch Monday Night Football than whatever stupid reality show you're going to put on there. So why don't you just keep it up? Why don't you just make it Monday Night Football? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But no, it's Monday Night Football on select Mondays this fall, and repeat programming on other nights. But hey, at least Dancing with the Stars is coming back, because I know there's a lot of people that want to see that, says no one ever. And it's going to lead into a show that probably is one of the more interesting shows I'm looking forward to, High Potential, because you've got Caitlin Olsen and Judy Reeves, Sweet D and Carla working together solving mysteries Tuesday nights on ABC. And then Wednesday night we have The Golden Bachelorette, because, you know, that first season, The Golden Bachelor was a television event. I'm not even kidding. The head of ABC literally said it was a television event. And yeah, that television event that lasted as the relationship didn't even last as long as the first season that did. I mean, the people that the Golden Bachelor literally broke up with the woman that he was marrying 3 months after they got married, which, yeah, chalk another one of them. Chalk another bad marriage to the show from history's greatest monster, Mike Flace. But they're gonna do it again with The Golden Bachelorette, and Abbott Elementary is moving down to 9:30, which will make it the only comedy on ABC this fall. I think The Conners also got renewed for its last season, and then they have a documentary series called Scamanda, which I know nothing about, and according to the bottom here, where they show you the names of everything, Scamanda tells the story of Amanda Riley, a wife, mother, and blogger, and a Christian, whose tragic cancer tale captivates thousands. But Amanda has a secret that she's dying to keep, and after an anonymous tip to an investigative reporter, her own words may prove to be her downfall. So she's a scumbag. So, like, I mean, but let me continue on with the schedule before I start going off on this. But Thursday night, you've got 911, then the new series Dr. Odyssey from with Ryan Murphy creating and Joshua Jackson from Dawson's Creek starring in it. Grey's Anatomy is moving down to 10 p.m. Friday night, Shark Tank in 2020. Saturday, college football. Sunday, America's Funniest Home Videos, and The Wonderful World of Disney, which I'm glad to see The Wonderful World of Disney's coming back as a weekly thing now. They brought it back when COVID happened, and it's become kind of the new Sunday night tradition for ABC. But of course, like I said, only 5 new shows are premiering on ABC this fall, which is very depressing to think about. That scripted television is moving out of the way for terrible reality television, and they're still supposedly ordering more comedies. Like there's a Tim Allen comedy coming up soon, as well as a show with Ty Burrell that they're working on in development. They haven't officially ordered it yet, but you know the shows like The Rookie isn't on the schedule even though it was renewed. Will Trent isn't on the schedule even though it was renewed. So there is a lot of shows on here that are going to be back, but they're not coming back in the fall. But of all the shows mentioned, High Potential is probably the one that probably has, no pun intended, high potential because of what I just said. You got Sweet Dee, who's starring in an ABC drama series where she's a single mother with 3 kids and an exceptional mind who helps solve an unsolvable crime when she rearranges some evidence during her shift as a cleaner for the police department. When they discover she has a knack for putting things in order because of her high intellectual potential, she's brought on as a consultant to work with a by-the-book seasoned detective, and together they form an unusual and unstoppable team. And it's written by Drew Goddard, who did, I can't remember, Cabin in the Woods, I want to say? Yeah, Cabin in the Woods, okay. Cloverfield, World War Z, The Martian, worked on Alias and Lost. So he's a reliable name and somebody that I think, like, if anything, I'm excited to see the show just on that fact alone. You got Drew Goddard, you got Caitlin Olsen and Sweet Dee and Carla solving mysteries on ABC. That's what I'm going to call the show. I know the show is called High Potential, but when Rob Thomas is creating it, Rob Thomas is, of course, the person that gave us Veronica Mars. So I see all of this as a win, in my opinion. The other new drama is Dr. Odyssey. And like I said before, it stars Joshua Jackson, and it's got a simple premise to it. A medical procedure set on a cruise ship. That's all you need to know, apparently. Made by a lot of the same people who've worked with Ryan Murphy before. Ryan Murphy's very hit and miss, so I'm curious to see where this one goes. I already talked about Scamanda, Golden Bachelor, we kind of already talked about. So ABC's, overall, the fall schedules this year were kind of weak. I mean, it just goes to show that they're clearly they want to keep this tradition going of releasing these fall schedules and making a big deal about these shows getting renewed. But just by looking at ABC's schedule, it just feels like they want to get out of this as much as possible. So it's really making it unusual to see. It's really making it an unusual situation. And honestly, I would not be surprised if by 5 years from now, the method that they've been doing for so many years, this fall schedule thing, starts to go away, and they just announce whatever, and they just make a schedule that is pretty lighthearted. I mean, if this schedule is any indication that ABC has here, we're heading down a very dark path in terms of television in general, where, scripted shows are not going to be the thing anymore. It's just going to be focusing on, unscripted television, sports. I mean, NBC is going to get the NBA within the next couple of weeks. They're waiting after the finals to actually announce the deal, but it's pretty much a done deal at this point. So I don't know. I really don't know where we go from here. Plus, NBC's thinking about getting out of the 10 p.m. time slot altogether and just making their nights from 8 to 10 o'clock. So we're seeing the dwindling years of this format that we're used to seeing with the fall schedules being released the way they are. But, ABC's fall schedule definitely has me worried about where the direction is that they're going on that front. But yeah, those are the big fall schedule news for television. Now let's get to some more movie news. So we already have one John Wick spin-off film in the works with Ballerina, but Lionsgate is moving forward with another one this week as I'm back on Deadline Hollywood, which the story apparently is not on the Hollywood Reporter as much as I tried to look for it, but Donnie Yen is actually going to reprise his blind assassin character from John Wick Chapter 4 in a new movie. Donnie Yen has inked a deal to reprise his role as Caine, the highly skilled blind assassin introduced in John Wick Chapter 4, in a new film from Lionsgate set to shoot in Hong Kong next year, the studio announced on Wednesday. While the logline is being kept under wraps, the new film will continue Yen's story arc following the events of Chapter 4, as Caine has been freed from his obligations to the High Table. The new film was developed as part of Chad Stiletzky's recently announced deal with Lionsgate to oversee the expansion of the John Wick universe, and will be shepherded by franchise producers Basil Iwanick and Erica Lee for Thunder Road and Stileski through his 8711 Entertainment banner. Script is written by Robert Askins, the Tony-nominated writer of the play Hand to God, who is also working on such series as The Umbrella Academy and The Sun. Lionsgate's Caine film is the latest extension of the billion-dollar action franchise, which last fall rolled out the Peacock miniseries The Continental, up next for release on June 6, 2025 as Ballerina, a female-driven spin-off starring Ana de Armas as an assassin trained in the traditions of the Rosca Roma. And of course, Yen's legacy has pretty much already been set. He's been in a number of different movies as of late. Mulan, Ip Man 4, Triple X3, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. He's very much well known, and I think John Wick was just the perfect film to introduce the people that didn't know who he was with this great role. I mean, he really was really good in John Wick Chapter 4, and he does have a lot of stories that could potentially be very good to tell, just by the way he showed up in that movie. And I'm really excited to see where they go in that direction. Actually, the more I think about it, I'm probably more excited for that than I am for Ballerina, even though I like Ana de Armas. I just think the story of Donnie Yen's character of Caine could make for such a very intriguing movie. And depending who they get on it, if they get a really good action director to make it work, it could probably work very well. But if they get somebody like John Mulaney, who did Mortal Kombat Annihilation or Annabelle 1, probably won't be that good. But I'm definitely looking forward to see what they do here. So with that said, let's move on to our next story. So a while back, I did a story talking about how Drew Barrymore was the first to say that Happy Gilmore 2 was in the works, and I talked about it for a little bit, and I didn't want to say anything else about it until it actually became official. Well, this week, it became official, and yes, indeed, Netflix has officially given an official order to the Happy Gilmore sequel, recently teased as being in the works. Deadline has confirmed. Going back to the Upfronts, Netflix made the announcement during its Upfront presentation on Wednesday, confirming that Adam Sandler is set to return as the golfer that gives the classic comedy its name. No word of a logline or other attachments for the moment. Actor Christopher McDonald, who played Gilmore's pro-golfer nemesis Shooter McGavin, was first to get word out about the project, with comments made in March. Netflix was a natural destination for it, given Sandler's longtime deal with the streamer, which has seen him produce and star in titles like The Ridiculous Six, Murder Mystery, and You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, among others. One of Sandler's most popular films, and one of two along with Billy Madison that's given its name from his production company Happy Madison, Happy Gilmore follows Sandler's titular failed hockey player with a powerful slapshot and a volatile temper. When Happy's grandmother, who raised him, is threatened with eviction from her home due to her unpaid taxes, Happy discovers that he has a natural talent for golf, specifically driving the ball incredible distances. With the help of a retired golf pro, Chubbs Peterson, played by the late Carl Weathers, he decides to join the PGA Tour to win enough money to save his grandmother's house. However, Happy's unorthodox and aggressive playing style clashes with the traditional etiquette of golf, making him unpopular with PGA officials and other players like Shooter McGavin, a smug and arrogant golfer who sees Happy as a threat to his own career aspirations. The film, directed by Dennis Dugan, who was also in the film as well as an actor, grossed over $82 million worldwide and retained a cult following to this very day. Sandler and Tim Herlihy wrote the pick, also starring Modern Family's Julian Bowen and the late Bob Barker, among others. And, well, we now know officially that this is happening, and like I said before, I'm not entirely that optimistic about it, because number one, it's not even for Adam Sandler, it's just what it is. It's a comedy sequel that's coming nearly 30 years after the original film, which is almost a death trap right from the get-go, and it just really takes me out of it right from the get-go, knowing that it's going to be that kind of a film. And it's just like, I'm not really that optimistic about it, just on that fact alone. But they seem confident in wanting to do this. I mean, like I said, Adam Sandler, he could be very hit and miss. He makes a lot of bad movies, but he then makes these movies every once in a while where it's just like, that's actually really good, especially with his Netflix stuff. Uncut Gems was amazing. Should have gotten a nomination for Best Actor there, but he did stuff like You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, which was actually pretty good. Hustler was very good. The animated film he did last year, Leo, I thought was actually really damn good. Criminally underrated animated film from last year. So I want to say that, and I always hear Adam Sandler's actually a nice person to meet in real life. I mean, like he seems like he makes a lot of bad movies, but I always hear a lot of good things about him as a person, not just as somebody who's like, kind of an asshole or stuff like that. Like, he'll say some things every once in a while, like, is that makes you wonder whether or not he is kind of an asshole. But from everything I've heard he's actually not that bad of a person in general. So I want to believe that this guy knows that he has an idea for Happy Gilmore 2, and one that actually makes sense, and not just going to be a sequel that's just going to be a sequel to just be a franchise. But then again, we've had Coming to America, we've had Good Burger, we're about to have Beverly Hills Cop, which I'm really not that optimistic about considering the longevity between the last two movies of those series, but in between the two films, I should say. But I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. It just depends. It depends on, one, who's directing the film, who are they going to get to direct it, and two, is it a movie? Does it at least look like it's not just another direct-to-video movie or direct-to-TV movie? I mean, that's one of the things I didn't like about Good Burger 2, is that it felt like a direct-to-TV sequel. It didn't feel like a film that was intended for theaters. It just felt like a movie that was made specifically for television, and that was it. But I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, Adam Sandler's last couple movies have actually been somewhat decent for the most part. In fact, there was one that just came out recently that I've heard some mixed things about, but it sounded kind of interesting to see Adam Sandler do something very different, and that's that movie Spaceman, where he plays like an astronaut sent on a mission to the edge of the solar system who's going after this creature that helps him to resolve his earthly problems, which, like I said, I heard a lot of mixed things about in general, but it sounds like a pretty interesting idea and something completely outside of his norm, so I still have to go check that out at some point. But yeah, other than that, though, I'm cautiously optimistic of what he can bring to Happy Gilmore 2. So it's coming. We'll see what happens when it eventually happens. But yeah. So Happy Gilmore 2 is officially moving forward. So I've got one more story I want to cover here, and then we can go ahead and get to the recommendations and get on out of here. So let's go ahead and get to that one right now. So a while back, there was news that a Married with Children animated revival series was in the works, and this actually happened. Actually, kind of about 2 years since it was announced, and Sony basically was working on the animated series for over a year, and they had to close the deals with the cast before they actually presented it to the different networks and streamers. And everyone's wondering, why is this an animated series? Why are we going down that route? But what's happening with that show, and why it's an animated series, is because Christina Applegate, who plays Kelly Bundy, has been diagnosed with multiple scoliosis in 2021, and if you saw her at the Emmys, I think it was last year, you saw her with the Caine and all that, and that's basically why they're making an animated series, because it's more feasible to do that with the cast schedules, and also because of the physical limitations that Applegate has had to work with here. And she even said last year that in an interview with Vanity Fair that everybody is coming, that the main cast is coming back for it. Her, Ed O'Neill, Katie Segal, David Faustino, they're remaining attached to the revival, and they're just waiting for the show to actually get picked up. So this week, there was actually a leaked clip from the presentation of it on the website. There was actually a website, marriedwithchildren.com, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go ahead and see for certain if this is actually where it came from. Okay, it tells me I need to submit a password for it, but this actually came from a website by Sony Pictures, and it actually got leaked online to YouTube, and I was wondering, is this going to be one of those things where if I wait until Sunday to talk about it, is it going to be off? If it's going to be off of there, I might have to search for it. I actually saved it into my phone just in case, and I would put this in another video for the main channel, but the clip is up here, and I'll go ahead and show off some of it real quick, just to show what the Bundys sound like now, almost 30 years after the show ended.
Anthony lived. God, she's a fox.
And here's a...
Okay, the first 30 seconds actually got cut off due to the copyright strike they had on this, and they actually have a script right here from the person who uploaded this. Excuse me. It says, Peggy, "Oh, Al, I can't believe we're going to live somewhere warm. Al Bundy. Yep, Peg, kids, welcome to Dumpwater, Florida. Peggy, look at this neighborhood. Kelly, it's like we moved into a tequila ad. I love alcohol." And then Bud says, "I wonder if this is where Casey Anthony lived." And that's when you hear the clip start to come back in, the sound come back into it. But let me go ahead and stop it from there. We're starting at the point where Bud says, "I wonder if this is where Casey Anthony lived."
God, she's a fox.
And here's our house. Believe it or not, it was the cheapest house in town. Yep. Starting today, after years of misery and pain, the Bundys have finally won. Son of a bitch.
Well, now we know why the house was so cheap, Al. You bought a home with a sinkhole.
Yes, Peg, but at least you're finally 6 feet under.
Okay, so the Bundys move into this new home. It looks peaceful at first, and Al's talking about, after years of being a shoe salesman, the Bundys are finally home. And as soon as they stop the car, a sinkhole opens up, and this nice home goes back to being a complete dump. And like, I love that. I love that. As soon as the Bundys show up, this nice looking home just turns into a hellhole afterwards. And like, it's great hearing Ed O'Neill, Katie Segal, and David Faustino again. And what follows after this, and I'm not going to play this I'm not going to play the sound here for copyright reasons, but they show like clips of them getting adjusted to their new neighborhood. And so you see, Al and Peg at this bar, and Al's getting treated to a beer by this waitress with wearing a swimsuit, and Peggy's being served a martini by this guy in a Speedo, who's literally just wearing a Speedo, and that's it. And he's got like a thing on he's got like a, what do you call it? A headband on there. It's like an anchor on it. And then after that, you see Kelly going into a nightclub with Bud right behind her. Kelly goes in, and the bouncer's just like, no, Bud, you're not going in. Throws Bud in the trash outside. Like, it literally looks like they're in Miami. I think that is Miami, kind of. But Bud is literally thrown into the trash. And then following that, you have Al fishing, and he thinks he's caught something, and what he catches is a dead body. And he just has this look on his face like, ugh, like he's so distraught by it. And then you see Bud exercising at first, like lifting weights, and then it cuts to this guy underneath him, this muscle-bound guy just lifting him up, and then you see Kelly in a swimsuit on her phone, and this guy who's driving by gets distracted, crashes into a wall, and then just, for some reason, just blows up. But then probably the best thing about the best bit of animation in here is when Al's getting robbed. He gives this robber his wallet, and in the wall there's just a thing that says, "Please, I'm sorry, I'm a shoe salesman." And the robber's just like, he feels so sad for him, and he just puts the gun down, just starts hugging him, and it's like stuff like that actually is pretty funny. I actually like that a lot. I'm watching it right now. Like, he's got the wallet handed to him. He's just like, "Sorry, I'm a shoe salesman," and the robber's just like, he just starts hugging him for no reason. It's just like. And the reason why I can't play this is because they're playing the theme song, Love and Marriage, the Frank Sinatra song. And, it just looks fun. I mean, I'll show up the last clip that I have here, because there is sound to it that won't affect shouldn't be copyrighted, but...
It's good to be back.
And of course, Al's got to put his hand down his crotch and all that, just like he did in the TV show. And I'll give it this, though. I think it looks a lot better. It definitely looks a lot better than the Good Times reboot that came out recently, which was just an abysmal mess on so many levels. I mean, that show was a mess in general. It just felt like it was a show that was not made with the intentions on living up to the traditions of what that show Good Times meant. This feels like a show that feels like it fits right into the mold of what you expect from Married with Children. I mean, it looks like a show that has... The animation, I think, overall is very well done. I think it definitely looks like seeing the characters from the TV show from the 80s and 90s being put into modern times in an animated setting, and it does look like a lot of effort's being put into the animation in this compared to, what the Good Times reboot was. And a lot of the times in there, I was laughing. I laughed at some of the funny moments in this one little clip right here. But the big question is that, is this actually going to happen now, or is this just a website that was put out there to potentially build hype for somebody to come in and pick it up? Like, is this going to be on Fox? Is Hulu going to make this a Hulu exclusive? I feel like this is going to be a Hulu exclusive if I'm really looking at it. But it definitely has a lot of things that I'm really excited to see about. Like, I'm really excited to see these characters back in these roles again. And I just actually did a video this week talking about Married with Children, how that show back then, when it was on, was such an experience that was so unbelievable. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and put a link to it in the corner so you can go ahead and check that out. But it felt like, it's weird because it felt like this thing was coming out because I kind of helped build the buzz around it, because that thing got a ton of views on my channel. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking it too much. I'm probably overthinking it too much, but yeah. So we got a first look at the new Married with Children show that possibly is coming soon. Maybe to Hulu, maybe to Netflix. I mean, maybe this is actually something that goes to like Freevee or Tubi, because this is a Fox, because Tubi is a Fox-owned streaming service, and that's usually, they have original shows on there, original animated shows as well. So maybe it's going there. I mean, nobody really knows for certain right now. I mean, this probably they're probably seeing that, okay, we're gonna put this on there. Yes, we're gonna put this online. We'll see what the buzz builds, what kind of buzz builds up for this, and maybe we'll get it seen by another network or something. But I do think this might be something that we'll see down the road. I'm thinking right now it's gonna be a Hulu show. Could go somewhere else, but Hulu, I'm thinking, is the best bet right now. Unless Fox orders it and it becomes something for that channel. Maybe it'll go to ABC. Like I said before about Family Guy potentially maybe moving to ABC. Maybe they pair this with Married with Children, move it over to ABC. As I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by that phone call. I was saying that I would think there's a possibility that maybe there's a slight possibility this goes to ABC. Like if Family Guy eventually does move there, they pair this with Married with Children, and ABC has an animated block of their own to use. But again, I doubt that happens. But maybe this probably is going to become a show for Hulu or Fox at the very least. But other than that, though, it's something I'm definitely looking forward to see when it eventually actually makes it onto television. But we'll see what happens. So that was the clip. That was the big thing. The big thing that really kind of took me off guard this week when this actually came out. But Married with Children's animated reboot. At least we have some form of what it's going to look like if it ends up not happening at all. But with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some recommendations, and then we'll get on out of here. Well, a couple things here we need to talk about. First of all, I did not really find a whole lot of recommendations this week. It's mostly just newer reissues of other movies. Those exclusive Walmart sets they had last year where they had like all the different formats, 4K, Blu-ray, DVD and digital, like The Lost City, Cloverfield, Beverly Hills Cop. That's all going wide this week, so you won't be able to just get them at Walmart anymore. You can get them whatever you want to. So there really wasn't a whole lot of recommendations for this week in particular, nor was there really any big new events premiering this week on streaming to talk about. So I'm going to make this recommendations segment this week about an actor who passed away on Friday, who you may not know who he is, but you have definitely seen him in a number of different things, whether you were a little kid or a grown adult. Dabney Coleman. Dabney Coleman passed away on Thursday at the age of 92 years old at his home in Santa Monica, California. And the sad part is, I honestly this is one of those actors where I thought he passed away years ago. Like, I did not realize that he was still alive up to this point. And there was some conflicting reports on Thursday whether or not he was actually dead. I think there was one source that said that he's still alive, and then everyone else basically had to come around and say that, yeah, unfortunately he did pass away. But this is a guy that you have seen in a number of different roles. He's the definition of a character actor, because you see him in all these different roles, and like anytime he usually goes into a role, he just fits it so well. Like you've seen him in a number of different movies. You've seen him in stuff like Cinderella Liberty, The Towering Inferno, the 76 version of the 76 film Midway, Rolling Thunder, North Dallas 40, Melvin and Howard, 9 to 5, On Golden Pond, Tootsie, War Games, The Muppets Take Manhattan, Cloak and Dagger, Dragnet, The Man with One Red Shoe, comedies that came out in the 90s that were not big hits, stuff like Where the Heart Is, Short Time, stuff like The Beverly Hillbillies. He was in Clifford, Inspector Gadget, Stuart Little, just a number of different movie roles. And his last film he ever starred in was in, unfortunately, a very lackluster film, in Warren Beatty's Rules Don't Apply, which was a film that had so much potential to it, but he's done a lot of television work, everything from The Outer Limits to I Dream of Jeannie. He had those every once in a while back in the 80s and 90s. He would always be on one of those shows where, you know, you were hoping that it was going to be the thing that was going to propel him to superstardom. You know, stuff like, you know, Buffalo Bill, which got the big time slot between Cheers and Hill Street Blues back in the 80s, but unfortunately it only ran for 2 seasons. The Flat Maxwell Story, which was on ABC. Drexel's Class, which, again, got a nice lead-in show with The Simpsons. Mad Men and the People, again, a great lead-in show with Seinfeld. But he had a lot of... He's a prolific character actor who's been in a lot of stuff, everything as of late to stuff like, you know, Boardwalk Empire. The last thing he did recently was Yellowstone. For a lot of kids like me who grew up in the 90s, I remember him as Principal Prickly from Recess, and Recess was a show I used to watch a lot. It was around the time when we didn't have the full ABC One Saturday Morning lineup because our ABC affiliate didn't get all the One Saturday Morning lineup until very late on. I think it wasn't until like 99, 2000 that they brought the rest of the One Saturday Morning lineup there, but he was the principal on Recess, and of course, he was in Recess School's Out. And it's amazing to think about that he had the most memorable line in Recess School's Out, which, you know, the whole thing of the movie is that, you know, they're trying to stop the evil bad guy played by James Woods from taking over, from destroying Recess. And there's a great scene where the main kid, T.J. Detweiler, is talking to the principal when they're in the cage, and he's just like, you know, what do you care about summer vacation? And he gives this impassioned speech, which is incredible stuff. I'm trying to find it. It's incredible to listen to, but because he's really given it his all. It's a really great performance by him, and I've actually got the clip right here, so let's go ahead and take a listen to this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Hold on, let me see if I can get a better clip version of this. Alright, I got it here with much better sound, so here we go.
Calm down, Detweiler. Calm down? We're locked in a giant birdcage while a madman's out there trying to destroy summer vacation, and you want me to calm down? I understand, but How can you understand? You're just a grown-up. What do you know about summer vacation? I'll let you in on a little secret, Detweiler. Every adult you've ever known was a kid at some time in his life. You think we don't remember summer vacation? Riding bikes down by the creek, catching pollywogs in a jar, camping out under the stars? Well, you're wrong. Some days I sit there in my office looking out at you kids on the playground, and I think they don't know how good they've got it. In a few years, they're all going to be grown-ups like me, and all those good times will just be memories for them, too. So go ahead. Put a whoopee cushion in my chair. Cover my carpet with fake vomit. Make fun of my big, saggy butt. But don't you ever say I don't care about summer vacation, because those memories are the last part of childhood I got left. Principal Prickly, I had no idea. Yeah, well, now you do. So let's stop messing around. Hey, how did you get those keys? Swiped them off William's desk when he wasn't looking. Now, come on. We've got a summer vacation to save.
And that's the great thing about that movie. Even though there are a lot of flaws to it, I do like the backstory that they have with Principal Prickly in there. Like, you see him go back to... Evidently, 8 o'clock on a Sunday night is when everybody starts calling, because it's the second time I've been interrupted by a phone call. But where was I? I was talking about how in Recess School's Out, they delve deep into the backstory of how, like, Principal Prickly was like TJ and the kids nowadays. They show them growing up in the 60s, and, you know, he understands, like, the whole idea that, you know, like, the importance of being a kid, and, you know, that's just very interesting to see that. And it's a very thought-provoking line reading from Dabney Coleman in that movie. Like, you think Recess School's Out is just you know, a big screen adaptation of the show, which it is, but it does have those little heartfelt moments in there that make it something that kind of stands out more than you would expect. And that's one of the things I really like about that movie in particular. And that just kind of hit harder nowadays too, when you're grown up and you're watching this movie again for the first time in over 20 years, and it's just like, yeah, it still holds up to this very day. And that's one of those great moments I remember from that particular movie in general. And because he passed away this week, I felt like bringing that up. There was nothing else really in terms of recommendations to talk about, so bring that up. Dabney Coleman, rest in peace. You gave everybody a great memory, no matter what age you were. You were in a lot of great stuff, man. So with that said, that's going to wrap up this edition of Time About the Movies. Good Lord. These phone calls are confusing me to no end. Like, I'm trying to get out of here before the next phone call comes, which might be sooner rather than later. But this is the end of the Reviewing Network Live for this week, and It was a little bit outside. It was a little bit unfocused because of the little pauses like that. And I'm sorry for that, but like I said, this is the end of the Reviewing Network Live for this week. And thank you so much for watching and listening. If you want to see more videos like this, or if you like what you heard, please hit the like and subscribe button. Check out the last episode we did last week, and then some of the other episodes we've done. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode. We always upload stuff here every week. We do every day too. We do trailer reactions. We do Time About the Movies clipless versions, which we're heading into 95 this week. So be on the lookout for that. And I think that's about it. So I will see you guys next week for the next episode. We post every Sunday night at midnight. And thank you so much for watching and listening. And thank you so much for checking out our show. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you guys next time. I'm getting out of here. And until that, next time I see you, we are out.